What is up, everyone? Scott Brandt coming to you on this late. What is today? Wednesday. Oh my goodness. It's such an odd feeling because it doesn't feel like Wednesday. It feels like it's later in the week and whatnot. But man, today was a good day. Had a couple interviews with a local business. Got to interact a little bit with the staff at the local business, and it was a good time. That thank you to Jasper for that connection piece and inviting us to come and meet with the staff and just to see another local business and see what they're all about and what they bring and what they do and whatnot. So uh, we'll look forward to being able to highlight them later on. But it was just a great time to go out into the community and just meet with another small business doing big things within the community of Colorado Springs. And so, first off, I know Patrick shared it. I've shared it before, but Patrick has highlighted that Saturday, 12 Eastern time, one 10 Mountain Standard Time, 10 in the morning on Saturday, we'll be doing an unboxing. So just to show that we're not messing around, we do have three of these, 10 boxes, and then got a couple single packs. And so that will be a fun piece of just something outside of business and just doing something different and crossing and bridging the gap between different groups, different individuals and whatnot. So that will be something that we'll be doing this Saturday, the unboxing, and that, like I said, 12 Eastern time, 10 Colorado time, Saturday morning and whatnot. So we'll go through that. We had talked. We know nothing about it. Haven't played the game. I know a little bit and whatnot, but I just look because I saw Patrick and Patrick. So if you never know or you never looked at Pokemon right there, it's Pikachu right there on the front, which is a mouse type. But Patrick thought it was a dang rat. But when I look at it, that could almost be a squirrel when you look at it. So, but it's a mouse type and whatnot. So it will be exciting for that piece to just have fun with it and do something different and show up and show out and whatnot. So gonna have fun with that. May hear some crazy stuff when, when cards are pulled, and we'll be like, "What is this?" So it's a good time. But if you got kids that are big into Pokemon, that's one thing that as we unpack them, part of it is a small giveaway, doing whatnot. So, but talking to Jasper, she actually had presented a question a couple weeks ago for Tabala's Food for Thought, which shout out to what she does, Jasper, with Tabala and just that avenue. And the question was, if we didn't have regular money, what would you value as currency to be able to create those transactions to go and build the life and whatnot? And one of them was relationships, and that's what really stuck out. And I think Jasper actually said, because we were talking today, and she actually talked about time, and that would be the currency that I think she said she would utilize in regards to the transactions and whatnot. So that got me thinking. And there's a movie. It's called In Time. I don't know if anybody's seen it and whatnot, but great movie. One that it's been a while since I've seen it, but the aspect of just how in this world, in this movie, if you haven't seen it, I highly suggest going and checking it out. But their currency is time, and a cup of coffee costs time. And so the unique thing within this universe for the movie, they have the transaction where they purchase something, they go about their normal daily business. The transaction piece is that time. And so if you're buying stuff, you're giving up time, which that time that you have goes to the seller. And it just makes me really think, because one of the unique things that comes up is a lot of individuals assume that time is unlimited and money is a limited resource. And that's such a backwards thinking when you really truly think about it. Money is a limited resource. You can't make more money. Same thing with your health. You can't make more health. You can always work to improve the health that you have if you catch it early, depending on what it is. But the health that you have is the health that you have. And so the same thing, the time that you have is the time that you have. You can't make more of it. You can always make more money because that's plenty to go around. There's plenty of money to go around, and that's an abundance. But your time and your health is one of those big things that you've got to take and be grateful for what you have. A lot of times people won't do it. They end up assuming that they can do something later, and later may never come. And so it's just a sad thing that a lot of people have regret because they end up on their deathbed and they're looking back and they're like, man, I regret that I didn't try this. They don't regret what they tried. They end up regretting what they didn't do. Maybe they had a belief or they had the paradigm that was told that you can't do it or don't do it or whatever. And so the biggest thing when you hear for individuals on their deathbed is the regrets of what they didn't do. And so for yourself, you've got to ask yourself, what do you want to do? And whatever that is, what's holding you back? What's keeping you from going and doing what you want to do? And it may be the loyalty factor. That's one of those limiting beliefs is your loyalty factor, loyalty to your family, loyalty to old friends, loyalty to whatever it is. And so instead of being banished, I guess, or disowned, you end up keeping that loyalty that may not be serving you. And so that's another thing that you got to look. You got to look at your loyalty to whatever it is and ask, is that loyalty serving me? Or do I need to sever the ties? Do I need to drop the relationships? Do I need to look at it in a different light? But ultimately, that comes down to you. You got to make those determinations. Nobody else can do it for you. That's an individual decision. But you have to look in regards to those relationships. Is it, and the loyalty piece, is it helping you with your energy, your peace, or is it going against it and you're losing out on energy, putting out unnecessary energy? Maybe you're not protecting your peace. It's not something that is near to your heart, and it's truly not who you are. And so those are some things that you've got to look and consider and see what you need to do in regards to protecting your peace, protecting your energy, because that is vital for you to have that peace and that energy. So I've talked about this book, The Buddha and the Badass, and I was just kind of flipping through it, and there was a couple of things that really stuck out, and it goes in regards with the talk. If you caught the Dreamer Cipher tonight with myself and Patrick, some things that really align here really stick out. But one of the things that kind of stuck out while I was flipping through the book, and the question is, what does the future look like because my business exists? And so that's where you have to ask the question, what does the future look like for yourself? But if you have a business or you're a top leader in your company, whatever it is, you've got to look and say, what does the future look like because of who I am, the leader that I am? What does the future look like because my business exists? And that is that looking to the future, looking at what you currently have, but the planning process. Do you have a big dream and goal that you would like to see come to fruition for your business? Do you have a big dream and goal that you can see for the team that you're leading? And there's some other things that I'll highlight when it comes to that team aspect, the culture piece, and really how that can impact your future that you're looking at, that you're envisioning. And it's one of those things that with the book Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, myself and Garrett, after the talk that we had, the live stream that we did today, just had some deep conversations. And it's with Joe Dispenza, the stuff that he brings and the research that he has, it's powerful. And so it is unique how you can potentially start envisioning, start looking, and start in your future based on how you speak to yourself, how you're looking at things, how you're envisioning things. And I'm excited to go through the book. There's a lot that he talks about that can kind of go over your head, and some of the things are kind of out there, but just based on the research and his stories and hearing people speak, it's man, it really sticks out and whatnot. But the first thing that you've got to ask yourself is, what does your future look like because you exist? What does your future look like because your business exists? What do you bring to the future because of what you're bringing to the marketplace, the services, the skills, the products, whatever it is? What does that future look like because of your business? And so that's a deep question, but that's the a individual perspective piece that it comes down to the individual determining what that is for them. And so that's up to you. You got to make those determinations and whatnot. And then the other thing, and this is item and a topic that I really am driven by, and it's something that a lot of people have to work on and a lot of people have to see, and they need to change how they see this because you may have this negative connotation with the word and whatnot. And so let me see here. It's talking about practice vulnerability, and it's one of those things that a lot of people have trouble with, the vulnerability piece and just being true. Vasheen, who wrote the book, he's saying that vulnerability is uncomfortable. That's why it's hard. And when you think about it, vulnerability is very difficult. It can be a tough thing to tap into because that is items that are your core. Those are items, whatever it is, that kind of define who you are, and it could be a pain point for you, and it's tough to open up and share that because of the judgment piece. And Patrick and I had touched on that a little bit, but a lot of people don't want to be vulnerable because it's a scary thing. What is somebody else going to think? And that's one of the things though too though is when you start saying, well, what is somebody else gonna think? You're judging yourself for somebody else, and you can't do that. You've got to let the other person do the judging. You just have to show up and share your message, share your story, and vulnerability is part of that. And with being vulnerable, you really open yourself up to allow people to see who you truly are, get to know the individual. And so I look at it because with what we're doing with Two Native Sons, it's the business, but we also do different things outside of that that isn't focused on the business. It's really just to bring a smile to somebody's face, to make them laugh. We Patrick and I a couple months ago had done the spicy chocolate challenge, which it's chocolate that's very spicy. For me, I was like, it tastes like a green bag of Doritos and whatnot, but um, just to hear some of the things Patrick was saying when we were doing the challenge, it made people laugh. It made me laugh and whatnot. But that's the thing. It doesn't always have to be about business. Life is such a dimensional aspect for all of us that the business is just one piece. Who you are as an individual, what makes you smile, what makes you cry, what makes you laugh, share that. and it allows people to get to know you at a deeper level. But it's also opening up and really just being open and exposed sometimes. And with the vulnerability piece, if you have pain or you're hiding it, that's not a good thing, because that just causes more issues. And so he had stated, because he was going through something, and so Bashina had stated, I realized that by trying to hide my pain from others, I had inadvertently created more pain. And talking is a very powerful resource. Talking is a very powerful tool that we all possess. And talking allows us to connect with others. But when it comes to the pain piece and having the suffering, whatever it is, it's finding those people that will give you space, create the space for you, provide you the space, and allows you to show up and be true to yourself, be vulnerable, and just potentially you may just need somebody just to sit there and listen. And that could be a tough thing because we're so busy in today's society that it's hard for people to slow down. And by not slowing down and showing up and being there for others, it makes it tough for people to really try to find somebody that they can talk to. And ultimately, a lot of times it's people are just looking for somebody to be there to listen, to only listen. A lot of times we already know we're the experts of our own life, but maybe you need a vent. And by venting and getting that off of your chest, going through the emotions, that could potentially provide that clear point for you to find the answer that you're looking for. Because you may have a lot of information, you may be inundated by so much that you have that you need to sort through. But by having the vent session, talking to somebody, and going through that process and letting the emotions run their course, because you're the expert in your life, that could open up the ability for you to determine what's the best route, what's the best decision, what works for you in regards to that time and place. But it's the fact that vulnerability, it's not easy, and it's one of those things that we have it where it's hard for people to do. The other unique thing that, man, if we could get to this level, and really, if we're gonna compete with one of the tactics that he talks in here about the culture piece and whatnot, is compete at kindness. So if we are going to have a competition and compete against each other, why not compete in kindness and creating those connections and enhancing the relationships and bringing a closer bond, because you're building those relationships and building that trust and really just focusing on other people. So if we're gonna have a competition, why not compete in kindness, like he had shared here with the tactic in regards to sparking the deep connections. And so they were doing a research, a trial, a test, and whatnot, and they found out that let's see here, social connectivity seems to matter in a big way. Your social connectivity, those social connections that you have, leads to happiness. That's part of creating the happiness. You've got to create the happiness in yourself, but there's things outside that can enhance that, and the social connections are a big piece of that. And they were saying that happiness may be a choice, but it requires effort, both on an individual level and also those of us that own companies. So think about that. Own a company. What are you doing to show kindness? What are you doing to help somebody else out? What are you doing to lift people up? And so you own a business, you have a huge circle potentially that you can lean on and make huge waves of change occur. So you got to use that to your advantage. Let's see here. We have a moral and business obligation to make sure people in our team are in a positive state. And so that positive state starts with those social connections, starts with building the culture. and allowing people to be true to themselves, be who they are. But that's not easy because a lot of us aren't even true to ourselves, and we don't know what that means sometimes. The last thing that so he has a chapter in this book called Master Unfuckwithability. Yeah, it's one of those words that let me just hold it up here. Actually, let me get that out of the way. I lost my place, but you can see here unfuckwithability. That's a good tongue twister there. But he breaks it down. When you're truly at peace and in touch with yourself, nothing anyone says or does bothers you, and no negativity can touch you. And so that's a mindset piece. That's something that is your mindset and what you're telling yourself, and just being at peace with who you are. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what I speak on, and it could be a negative connotation for some people depending on what they've had experience wise with their life, anything of that. But I tell people, I'm like, you either hate me or you love me. There's no in between. And I talked about this today too, and this comes from the Buddha and the Badass. Is you can't be fearful to repel the few, as you'll miss out on attracting the many. And so if you're fearful of making somebody upset because they have their own lenses and they're looking at life through those lenses and they interpret something differently than what you're presenting, you can't be fearful to repel them, because if you repel them, then if you can get that done early in the way, or early, and get that out of the way early, it's just going to open up things for you. But you got so many people that are worried about the validation opinions of others, and so because of that, they're fearful to potentially stand up and let people know what they need, express their needs. And so you've got to you can't be fearful to repel people, because ultimately that is part of the process of living life and whatnot. And thing about sales, you've got to set it up where you do repel those people that don't fit perfectly with what you're trying to do. They don't fit perfectly with the service that you're providing. And so if you can get that out of the way early, it allows you to start getting and focusing on the people that are needing your service, needing your product, whatever it is. But it comes down to the fact that you can't be fearful to repel the few, because if you're fearful and you're focused on not repelling people, you're going to miss out on those opportunities to attract individuals. And so, yeah, it's just one of those pieces. But it really, for me, it really broke down that you either love me or you hate me. There's no in between, because you got so many people that try to play this middle line. And like, it's funky because playing that middle line, you can put off this energy, people can feel it, and it can make everything so awkward. So if you don't like somebody, then that's cool. Like, but don't try to play this funny game and whatnot of playing the middle road. You either love somebody or you hate somebody. Maybe hate's too strong, or maybe you love somebody or dislike somebody. I don't know. Whatever works for you and whatnot. But that's just something that really helps me out in regards to the piece of being true to myself, showing up as my solid self, and not coming in with masks, and not showing up as a pseudo self to try to make people happy or whatever it is. Because happiness is such a potentially be a subjective thing too, because everybody's driven by different things. And so what makes one person happy may not make another person happy. So oh man, it's one of those interesting things. I know tonight, Patrick and I on the Dreamer Cipher didn't get a chance to run through some pod decks. And so I'll pull that up because it's interesting. These pod decks, the different cards, the different questions that come up are very unique. They can have a different presentation and have you think differently in regards to whatever's asked. And so that is one thing that for individuals that are on Twitch, this is a great tool to have, especially for those individuals that run in this category. Because when you look at the categories on Twitch, it's one is just chatting, whatever it is. And so this is a aspect. Oh, that's cool. I was looking, they were showing the new decks coming up and whatnot. But this is an aspect that can really create a unique conversation, can spark a discussion that may never be talked about and never brought up. For individuals that are big on Facebook or Instagram, this is a great tool for you as a content creator, because it does spark conversations in a different light. And it's conversations that sometimes we don't normally have. And so that can be a great thing because it has you start looking at things differently, start really getting to know somebody from a different light and whatnot. So I'll run through a couple ones here. But what really caught my attention here, let me see. They'll be available January 1st. All right, cool. So they have a new deck coming out called New Year, New You. So this deck is packed with questions about reflection, resolutions, and your plans to dominate the year ahead. So that's going to be interesting. Comes out on Friday. So, like I said, the cool thing about pod decks is every month they're putting in new decks, and so it just gets bigger and bigger. Gives you different options, different choices to really start sparking interesting conversation. The other one is hypothetical questions. So man, let's see here. This one, it's the middle of January, but hypothetical questions pose interesting debates to have with guests. They're so interesting because there's no correct answer someone can give. Their explanation may start a fun or intriguing conversation. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a great deck once it's available and whatnot. It's love it. But yeah, let me go ahead and see. We'll go through philosophy. Go through a couple cards here. Oh man, is it easier to love or to be loved? Is it easier to love or be loved? I think when I look at this before, it was easier for me to love others, but to be loved, it wasn't easy. And so I look at it because one of the things I've really worked on is my relationship with myself. And I tell people that within the spectrum of relationships, the most important relationship that you have to work on is the relationship that you have with yourself. And so because I wasn't willing to love myself, I believe that's why it was harder to be loved than it was to give love. And so that's interesting when you think about it. So that's something that you can look at and ask yourself. Are you at the point that you're not able to be loved because you don't love yourself and you haven't done the work? And if that's something that you're coming up to and running into, that's something that you really need to work on. And it comes into the part that you've got to work on the relationship with yourself because ultimately you're going to be the only person that has your back 100% of the time. So you've got to love yourself. You've got to accept yourself for who you are, the flaws that you have, and it will be easier when you think about it to receive love because of that and by giving yourself love. Let's see here. What do you want written on your tombstone? What do I want written on my tombstone? This dude would not shut up. This dude could talk and talk and talk about whatever. And but he was also driven and passionate about having others share their message. And he was passionate about sharing his message because it caused other people to open up and share their message. So that was quite a bit there, but that's what would be written on my tombstone. That piece of impact and whatnot. What character flaw of yours is both good and bad? So, oh man, what character flaw? So it's not. I would not say it's a flaw. Maybe it's more of a quirk. Strange, I don't know. But for me, I think it's being able to talk and just talk. So it's good because we need to have the conversations, but it can also be a bad thing because it may lead me to dominate the conversation, and that's not a good thing. Because ultimately, when you're meeting somebody, you want to have the conversation focused on the other person. Of course, you want to share who you are, share that information, but ultimately build that relationship. You got to have that other person open up. And so, if you dominate the conversation, that may not turn out well for you. So, I think character uniqueness for myself would be I love to talk, but it can also get me in trouble because I may, like I said, dominate the conversation. So, very interesting. Let me see here. Hmm. Does utilizing time properly make our lives meaningful and happy? Ooh, now we got to get into what do you consider properly? Because now it goes into the fact of are you utilizing your time to fulfill your dreams and passion and things that fulfill who you are and meet with your purpose and allow you to go and fulfill your purpose here on earth. So I guess if you're utilizing, when you look at it, or if you're utilizing your time properly for those pieces, but that's the thing too. Um, Maybe somebody could say, well, utilize my time properly is being around and having that quality time with my family. Okay, so that could be where it makes their lives meaningful and happy. But somebody else may be a very driven hard worker, and so they look at it as their time needs to be going towards their business or their job, and are they properly using that time to complete those tasks? So that could make their lives meaningful and happy. So this question is one of those things that you got to look, and it's a deep dive for yourself, and you got to look and say, okay, what do I need to utilize my time for to have a meaningful and happy life? And so that comes down to the individual. I believe, looking at me, it's a split between working on myself, working on the businesses, and then my time with my kids. So it's split right there. And ultimately, I don't think any of them. Well, I think the biggest thing would be my time with my kids. Would be the biggest thing in there. But working on myself, doing the personal development leads to me to have the chance to grow and develop and have better relationships with other people. So that personal development does lead into being a better father, leads me to be a better friend, leads me to be a better business partner. So now, pretty much all of them go hand in hand for me and whatnot. So, but by utilizing my time properly to those three things, ends up giving me that meaningful life and allows me to be happy, even though happiness is an inside job, but that's an external thing that bleeds and complements my happiness. Mm. Is there something in life you'd never give up for anyone? Is there something in life you'd never give up for anyone? Hmm. Is there something in life you'd never give up for anyone? Okay, think about that. Um, Staying true to myself. Honestly, that would be something that I would not give up for anyone, um, because it goes back to the relationship with self. And so being true to myself, that's the most important thing because that's me showing up 100% who I am. And I would not give that up for anyone. So you hear the horror stories of people in relationships looking and trying to change things about somebody else, and you got to focus on yourself. You can't. Nobody's perfect, so you better focus on yourself and work on yourself and show the other individual that it's okay to change or work on themselves, do what they need to and whatnot. So that would be the one thing I would not give up is being true to myself for anyone. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. Let's see here. Last one. The superhero deck. We'll see what comes up here. What is your favorite superhero gadget? Um, that would be everything that Tony Stark has when it comes to Iron Man. So it would be that whole umbrella of the capabilities of Iron Man. That would be my favorite superhero gadget. So interesting, interesting. But yeah, so ultimately, what does your future look like because you exist? What does your future look like because of who you are as a leader? What does the future look like because of the business that you're building or running or working to come to fruition? What does the future look like because of the ideas that you have? So just some things to consider, something to kind of going into the new year. We've got one day left. Tomorrow is the last day of 2020, and then Friday is the first day of 2021. And that could be that reflection question that you need to run through tomorrow, maybe the rest of tonight. I don't know, whatever you have to do and whatnot. But that's that reflection question that you've got to look and reflect on and kind of start that trajectory heading into 2021, even though this probably should have been started earlier. But hey, it's okay. Things happen for a reason, things occur when they need to occur. So I think that's just something to really take a ponder on and look and see. For myself and Patrick, when it comes to Two Native Sons with Jasper and Mike Marquez, which is the core group of Two Native Sons, ultimately, I've told people that our biggest goal with Two Native Sons, two of them, one is to impact 1 billion people, and that was 1 billion with a B, and then to be a 1 billion dollar enterprise. And this was something that I had discussed with Garrett on his live stream today. So if you want to check out that video, you can go jump on my Facebook page, go jump on Garrett Goggins' Facebook page. It's there, but you can hear the reason for 1 billion individuals to impact and $1 billion as an enterprise. But yeah, just some things to consider, some things to really do a deep dive on. And if anything, with the value that you found from this video, share the video. This is something that's streamed on Facebook, it's streamed on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and it's on Twitch. So, a couple of things that we asked myself and Patrick, like he asked today, to help grow what we're doing. Go on Facebook, go find the Two Native Sons Facebook page and like that page. We also have the Instagram. Go out there, find the page, subscribe or follow, whatever it is for Instagram. YouTube, same thing. Go like, subscribe to the channel. And then Twitch, if you're on Twitch, go subscribe to Two Native Sons. Help us grow that because ultimately, the more we can share value wise, the more lives we can impact, the big impact that that has on the bigger grand scheme, the bigger picture and whatnot. But any value that you found, like I always say, anything that you took away, any aha moments, share those. Would love to hear what you took away, what really stuck out. If there was something that I had spoken on that you look at and you're like, man, that's crazy. This is how I look at it. All right, cool. Would love to hear that. Let's hear your opinion. Let's hear how you see things. Let's hear the lens that you're. Let's hear the lens that. Let's hear how you view life because of your lens and what's showing up. Leave that in the comments section. And then, of course, like I said, with Facebook, there's a little share button. You can share it. YouTube, go grab the URL, share that with people and whatnot. But if you have any questions, if you have anything on your heart, you have a idea, you have a passion that you don't know how to bring to life, you're stuck. You just don't feel like there's anybody around you that's supporting you. You feel as if you are on your own island. Reach out. Send myself, send Patrick. Go to Instagram, to the Two Native Sons. Go to the Facebook page. Find something, and send us a private message. Send us a direct message. If you don't want to go that route, then go find somebody you trust. Go find somebody that will sit there and listen and help you out. But you got to be careful because you may trust an individual, but are they ultimately giving you that space? Are they ultimately sitting there creating a neutral stance and asking the questions that really have you start thinking deeply and start looking at it differently? And also, are they creating a space of non-judgments? Because that's the biggest thing. A lot of people don't talk to others because they're scared about being judged. It's happened in the past, so they ended up getting. They build the barrier. They build the brick wall to protect themselves. But you got to tear that wall down, and you can't let one situation dictate the rest of your life how you interact with people and whatnot. You've got to understand that everybody's different. Everybody brings something unique to the table, and you can't allow one situation that may have been a bad situation for yourself. You can't let that jade you. You can't let that control how you view other things. Every situation is unique. Every situation is different, and so you've got to handle each situation as its own situation. So, like I said, if you have anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Appreciate your support. Appreciate there an individual. I don't know who it was, but somebody was watching. Thank you for checking it out, and again, thank you for your support. I'll catch you guys later. Have a great night. Enjoy the Thursday coming up. We have a half hour here in Colorado Springs, so enjoy the last day of 2020, and then hopefully you're doing the work to get ready to go and overcome 2021, make it the best year possible for yourself. And so that is up to you on what that looks like when it comes to the best year. And also, hopefully, you found your one word that will guide you for that year, for 2021. For me, the one thing is imperfect action. I know it's not one word, but imperfect action is that word that's going to be the guiding post for 2021 for myself. So, but I'll catch you guys later. I love you. Have a good night. Peace.